Hello. The Holy Spirit has been leading me to do an extensive amount of research on our African American history. Our African American history in this country does not date back any further than the 16th century. And so they have an act called the H.R. 1242, 400 Years of African American History Commission Act, that was brought to the Congress floor back in 2018. Well, it was actually brought to the Congress floor in 2016, and it was signed by Donald Trump on January 1st, 2018. So what I want to tell you about this Commission Act is that it was designed to talk about the history of the African American in its truest form, and that we have not been told the whole story according to this 400 Years Commission Act, and that we need to find historians and teachers and pastors and administrators in order to look up our history. So the Holy Spirit has been leading me since this time, even before I found out about this Commission Act, to find out about our history. Because so many of us are confused about who we are. I've heard so many people say, what happened to us? Where is our history? Who are we and where did they get us from? Well, I believe that I can shed some light on some of those questions. When I started praying about this situation, the Holy Spirit led me to some facts. First of all, I want to start off reading from Genesis 15 and 12, where it says, "And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Okay? And so the so-called African American started off definitely in Africa, but so did the whole humankind start off in what they call now Africa. It has so many names. So we started off in Africa, and we know, but some of you may not know, that Africa is a big continent. Africa is not a country. There are hundreds of countries in Africa because it is huge. And so some of the countries that we are calling the Middle East is in fact Africa. The Middle East was not the Middle East until after the Second World War. It is Africa. So therefore, Jerusalem and Israel and Ethiopia and Egypt and Saudi Arabia and all of these countries that they're calling the Middle East are in fact Africa. And so is Iran and Iraq and everywhere else. And so, this is just a state of fact. It's on that continent. It's on the African continent. And so in the Bible, during biblical days, there was a place called Judah and its capital was Jerusalem. And then there was a place called where the 10 tribes dwelled. It wasn't called Palestine at first, but now it's called Israel. Okay? And the capital of that country was Samaria. Okay? So these capitals are like the United States has a capital, which is Washington, D.C. And then the smaller states have capitals as well. But Judah was a country, and it had Joppa, which was a very merchant place, and they did a lot of trading there. Now, that part of the area is called Joppa, is now called Tel Aviv. Okay? So, what happened with Judah, which is one of the 12 tribes, went to the western part of Africa, the west coast of Africa, which they started calling Negro land. Okay, they started calling this map Negro land. This is the map of 1747. After that, they just wiped it off the face of the earth. Now, Negro land encompassed the kingdom of Judah. See, the kingdom of Judah. And it became the slave coast. Ouida, and I'll show you in a minute what that connects to. And then down here is the Bight of Benin, but it was right on that edge of the slave coast. Ouida, kingdom of Judah. Okay? That's who the African Americans are, some of them. You'll find it fascinating also to learn that some of them were actually already here as free people in this country, in other countries as indigenous people. That's why we have so many colors and shades, because we were actually indigenous people right here in this country. They called us, and that's when they were calling us Indians. Okay? But Negro land, it was a very fertile and beautiful country, but the climate is insalubrious and in many parts fatal to Europeans. The inhabitants are engaged in pastoral as well as agricultural and commercial pursuits. The capital, Sakatu, is one of the largest cities in Negro land. There was a place called Negro land because they even noted it right here in America. I'm saying all of this because I'm going to speed it up for you. And I'm saying this because our ancestry history, let me go back 1 second. You say, well, how did they get here? Okay. The Romans destroyed the temple in Jerusalem, 70 AD. Okay. And so then Judah fled to the west coast of Africa. And so then we have the Pope Nicholas V, who sanctioned the Portuguese slave trade. But before the Portuguese slave trade, there was a slave trade called the Indian slave trade. Because, see, the natives here in America, they were doing what you call servitude, like the indentured servants. So they were getting some of the people from over in Judah, Africa, to come over, and they were trading and doing all different types of things. And so when their time was up to be indentured servants, they came back, and they were free. They were free people because the natives were free people, and they were of Negroid descent. The native people that were here were of Negroid descent. And so when Christopher Columbus got here, he said that from his very first contact with native people, Columbus had their domination in mind. For example, in 1492, Columbus wrote his journal, "With 50 men, they can all be subjugated and made to do what is required of them." These were not mere words. After his second voyage, Columbus sent back a consignment of natives to be sold as slaves. So the natives ended up being caught up in the slave trade because of course, they had the same skin tone. All right? And so what I'm telling you is that when I did my ancestry history, and many of us are doing our ancestry history and finding out that we come from a place called Benin. Okay? When I did mine, sure enough, it was the west coast of Africa. Benin, right? They updated mine. They keep updating mine. I don't know whether or not other people of other ethnicity get updated. But there's mine, Benin, right? Again. Well, come to find out that in 2000, the president of Benin came to America, to an African American church in Baltimore, Maryland, to apologize to the people for their role in the slave trade. And this was written in the Chicago Tribune, and it was written in the Washington Post, okay, about this event. And that dates back to 2000. And so here is the door of no return, and that is a memorial, the door of no return. There were so many different ports where the slaves were being taken from. A memorial arch in Ouidah, Benin, Ouidah, and that word Ouidah means Judah. The concrete bronze arch which stands on the beach is a memorial to the enslaved Africans who were taken from the slave port of Judah to the Americas. And here's the top of that arch, and you see the slaves. And then in the middle, there's the tree of life, which confirms that they were definitely Israelite people. And so I just wanted to tell you that and share that with you. Here it is again in the Washington Post about that same thing. And so all of this was a devised plan, okay? And I'm going to tell you why I know that it was a devised plan of the enemy. Because in Joel, in the Bible, in Joel, it talks about the tribe of Judah. And it says that the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem ye have sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. You have shed innocent blood in their land. Okay? They have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. And they have led away captive the whole captivity to deliver them up to Edom. So this is what I'm just trying to go over this very quickly. I might be all over the place, but I'm just trying to tell you that we are Hebrew people. And that our fathers, when we say hallelujah, Yah is our Father's name, or Ayah, because sometimes that Y is pronounced as an I. It's Ayah, Hallelujah. Okay, that's universal all over the world. Everybody knows what that means. And so we have to begin to know him by his name. Because if you look it up, Lord means Baal or Baal. And I have to tell you that there's a whole lot going on with that too. But I'm out of time, and I would love to hear your comments or see your comments. And so take care, and I love you. Be blessed, and pray in the Holy Spirit without ceasing for our people, because especially our young men, because they are in trouble. But I know that where the Spirit of the living Most High Father is, there we can find peace. Thank you.